room, so I'm not sure if we want to be easier to chair from here or.
I'll defer to the chair if she prefers.
Yes, if you're able to, Cassandra, that is wonderful. I will be online. If you need me, I'm here. But I, I, I am more than welcome for you to chair the meeting from in the room.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will resume this meeting. Thank you. We're looking at the agenda, and we have the minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I think we got to do roll
Roll
call.
call first?
Roll
Thank
call
you.
first.
Okay. Thank you. Let's begin roll call.
Hi, everybody. Adopt a Family, Jessica Pagan. Best Foot Forward, Debbie Ellman.
Present online.
Thank you. Best Foot Forward, Karen Spagnardi, who will be joining us after she's voted in at the next board meeting, but I don't know if she's online today. I sent her the invite.
She is not.
Okay, thank you. Black Chamber of Commerce, Cassandra Oliver.
Here.
Card at FAU, Sabrina DeGoges.
Sabrina, she was online, right?
Oh, her things are here, so. Card at FAU, Jack Scott. Coalition for Black Student Achievement, Dr. Deborah Robinson.
I'm present online, thank you.
Coalition for Black Student Achievement, Jacqueline Calloway. Compass, Amanda Canetti. Compass, Rex Barnes.
Present online.
Thank you. Connect to Greatness, Dr. Cassandra. Connect to Greatness, Andre Thaddeus. District ESE Advisory Committee, Kimberly Spire-O.
Present online.
Okay. District ESE Advisory Committee, Michelle Beatty.
Present online.
Division of Blind Services, Cesar Vigo.
Present online.
Economic Council of Palm Beach County, Craig McKenzie. El Sol Jupiter, Suzanne Whitbeck.
I'm present online.
Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, Juan Pagan. Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce, Evelyn Vargas. For the Children, Reggie Durndies. Gold Coast Down Syndrome, Sue Davis Killian. Guatemala Mayan Center, Mariana Blanco.
Present online.
Guatemala Maya Center, Myra Cardenas. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Maria Antunia. Hispanic Education Coalition, Hector Pedra. NAACP, Diedrich Strawn. Palm Beach County Council of PTAs, Charmaine Postal.
Present online.
Palm Beach County Council of PTAs, Marcus Brown. Palm Beach County Human Rights Council, Emmy Kenny.
Present.
Great. Tri-City Education Committee, Eddie Rhodes.
Present online.
Thank you. Tri-City Education Committee, Mary Evans. Urban League of Palm Beach County, Terrence Reed. Volunteer Association of America, Widleen Pierre.
Present online.
And Volunteer Association of America, Carlene Paul. And Classroom Teachers Association, Gordon Longhofer.
And we had a couple come in late, and one was, she got you?
Got
Sabrina?
two. Yes, we have a quorum.
And somebody online, PTA, is that Marcus, maybe?
Good morning, Marcus Brown, present online.
Okay. And somebody else wants to come in.
Got a full house.
And Terrence Reed.
Terrence came in.
Okay, we have a
And-
quorum.
And Mr. Ferguson, school board member, joined online.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Let's get the minutes. Are there any changes, or if no changes are noted, can I get a motion for approval of the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
And the second was in the room. Was that you, Juan? Thank you so much. Debbie, online?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. The minutes have been, all in favor? Opposers?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes have been approved. We will move to the agenda. We are requesting to make a change on the agenda. Will the subcommittee, do you mind presenting right before adjournment so we can keep the principals on target to return back to their schools?
Committee? Sue, is that okay?
Is that okay?
So we need a motion to,
May I have a motion to update the agenda to reflect that the subcommittee will present right before adjournment?
Motion to update the
Thank you, Juan, and I think we have a second from Chair.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposers?
Aye.
We have an opposer? Was that? Let me recall.
Not
Okay.
opposed.
Thank you. Motion passes. For the agenda with the change for the subcommittee to present closer to adjournment. Let's proceed to public comments. Are there any?
Just want to recognize that this is LGBTQ History Month, so we're happy to have that, and our board unanimously approved that proclamation at last night's board meeting. And just to bring up, there is a cool website called LGBT History Month, and today's icon, there's one each day for October, is Ari Shapiro, who is a host on NPR. So happy LGBT History Month.
Thank you so much for sharing. Do we have any other public comments? Seeing none, thank you. We'll continue with the agenda. We'll have update from Mr.
Sorry.
Oz. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, this is Charmaine. Can we have anyone who didn't introduce themselves through roll call at this time introduce themselves in the room for the record?
Madam Chair.
Latarius Reed, Urban League of Palm Beach County.
Sabrina DeGoya's FAU card.
Susan Holzclaw, Keith's assistant.
Jean Sauveur,
Marcus Brown.
budget.
Keith Oswald, Chief of Equity and Wellness.
Melissa Patterson, Director of Safe Schools.
Good morning, Corey Brooks, Dwyer High School.
Good morning, Elena Villani, Principal, Lake Worth High School.
Good morning, Juan Pagan, Florida Hispanic American Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, Pete Stewart, Secondary Education, Health Education Specialist.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's everyone in the room. We'll continue with the agenda. Mr. Oswald?
And good morning, everybody. It's great to see so many people here. I know we missed last month because of Hurricane Helene, I believe it was the first one. So hopefully everybody made out okay. I know a lot of our families were affected by the tornadoes in our communities. So we continue to work to provide support for those. Also, I want to recognize that my assistant, Susan Holzclaw, who just introduced herself, she'll be retiring. So she's only here for about one more, maybe two meetings. So she's going to be out in December. So Yes, told her she couldn't, but she's going anyway. And then, and Jean Sylvia introduced himself. Some of you may remember Gal Varigny, who retired. He took this position and is doing budget, so he's kind of picking up and learning some of these things as well. So I want to welcome Jean, who hired him a couple months back from a school center as a treasurer. It's good finance background, so glad to have you. Thank you. And then also bilingual, also, so someone who speaks Haitian Creole. It's good to have part of the team as well, so welcome. Just quickly, elections, in case you haven't noticed, coming up soon. And the district does have a referendum on the budget for the half-penny sales tax. So please continue to educate yourself and your organizations to let them know about that. It does provide a lot of support for capital projects. So as I always say to you all have a responsibility to be on the DDDC. And to educate yourself on this particular item is critically important for the school district. I cannot tell you how to vote, but I do encourage you to please educate yourself about that so that those that you are affected by your organization can make decisions appropriately. Also, next month, I do want to bring forward a deeper presentation on Bright Future scholarships. We've been doing a lot with the Superintendent Student Advisory for Black Student Excellence Committee has been studying this and has some subcommittee work going on, but I want this committee as well to know we did share data where only 6% of students in Florida since the inception of Bright Futures have received the Bright Future scholarships, while other subgroups have gone up considerably. And I think the data we shared, I don't know if we gave the updated data here, our data is actually more than double that. We're about 13% of our Black students who graduate to receive the Bright Futures. So, but we want to continue to really increase that even more so. And so, I'm going to limit that to the updates for now so that we can, because I know we have a pretty packed agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. We'll continue with the agenda. We are looking at high school's best practices. Ms. Patterson?
So I'm going to open that up first, Ms. Patterson, before you go. So one of the things that, we talked about here is school discipline, and it's on the policy to monitor that. One of the things that we've been working with the schools on is around, culture and climate and how we address student discipline. And I'll share more data. The principals don't even know that. One of the areas that we're trying to reduce is the disparity that we see with our Black students and discipline referrals. I will tell you that overall as a district, from first quarter last year to first quarter this year, you guys, our principals here don't know this yet, but we actually seen a 25% reduction in incidences. I almost fell off my chair, celebrating. So that's the good news. The bad news, we still have a disparity. All subgroups did decrease, but I'll go more into that in a presentation in the future. What we did at our first leadership summit with our principals, the district, we had a breakout, and Ms. Patterson, who's director of Safe Schools, looking at the data, and then also having principals share out best practices with other principals. We identified a number of schools that had significant decreases with Black student suspensions and discipline. So two of our stars, Dwyer High School, Corey Brooks, and Lake Worth High School, Elena Villani, are here today to share some of what they're doing at the schools to really inform and inspire and educate all of our students. And just to show you an example of some of the things, especially with the recommendations that, with Dr. Thaddeus's work around Black male students and acceleration, but our recommendations that went to the school board to give you some examples of some of the work that we're working to try to execute on those particular pieces. So Ms. Patterson will kind of set the stage of kind of how we opened up some of this work with the principals and that we're working on. So turn over you.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. We're just going to get, when Mr. Oswald approaches, as he said, in looking at the data and some of the things that we definitely need to work collectively. In coming here today, this morning, this is going to be part of our objective, is also to share with you what equitable practices, how equitable practices can contribute to a positive climate and culture at the school for the benefit of all students. With that being said, when we talk about culture and climate, we're definitely talking about things that, or concepts that are not always concrete in every single context. So then it's how do we get there as a team? And we need to agree what positive school climate would look like. And it would look like this would be the components. It would be fostering safety. It would be promoting supportive academic, disciplinary, and physical environment, encouraging and maintaining respectful, trusting, and caring relationships throughout the school community. And this will have to apply to all students and all subgroups, and paying attention to those subgroups independently as we go through the process, only to improve attendance, achievement, retention, and rates of graduation amongst those students. And then we actually took a look at this model, which is not an original model to us, but we thought it was a pretty good model. And when we're talking about culture and climate, and only to establish how do we identify the focus in each one of our environments. So when we look at this climate right here, I'm not going to get super deep, but I'm just going to go briefly over it. One of the things that we understand about climate and culture is that climate is going to be a product of culture. And if that is true, then we cannot control climate, but we can control the components of culture so that we can positively impact climate, right? So in doing so, then we divide culture into two different cultures. The top you're going to see is behavioral, and the top and at the bottom you're going to see operational. And basically what we're saying is, as a system, we got to say, let's take a look at operational. Operational is the things that we say we're going to do. It's the systems that we design. But then we have to question ourselves if our behaviors are in alignment to that operational, to that system, to that plan that is more concrete than not. And then that operational and behavioral have to be led by what we define as respect and value in each one of our respective environments. So when you look at the chart from the left and you move over to the right, what you're going to see is that climate, when behavioral culture and operational culture are far from each other, meaning our behaviors do not match our systems necessarily, then climate is going to be oscillating anywhere around respect and value, but we're not going to necessarily be operating close to that respect and value. When our behaviors and our operational, or backwards, when our behaviors are in alignment with the plan that we have, and those are also in alignment with respect and value, then we want to see that the climate is going to be less going up and down. It's going to change a whole lot less. And that would be what would result in what we would call a positive climate. Climate is nothing but how people feel, from students to teachers to staff, any stakeholder. With that being said, the responsibility at the district level, these are some of the things that we are doing to support the schools in this important work. And you're going to see that this is new, is going to be monthly interactive training sections with school discipline point of contacts, which are actually an administrator that has been assigned by each principal. Sometimes the principal participates as well in tandem with the administration. And during those training sections, we literally we study policies in depth. We talk about case studies. We always talk about the data. And we also, at the very end, we also stay behind for it to be an open-ended agenda, any questions that are for the good of the group that we may or may not have covered. In addition to that, every single month at the end, this group of professionals actually filled out a very short survey, and they proposed the next theme as well, so that it is indeed a collaborative effort as far as how we learn. The next one is going to be weekly monitoring of level 1 infractions and suspensions in school. We noticed that there were some suspensions that were taking place for level 1 infractions, which is against policy. So in order to support the school, it's also not only monitoring, but also providing them with any other resources that they might need in order to correct that. Monthly data monitoring and discussing around most frequent infractions based on students' grade levels. That is another thing that all schools have shown a tremendous improvement, not that there's not more work to be done, but what are those infractions that are keeping students off campus, and what can we do proactively so that we can lower the reaction? The very fourth one is to update the student code of conduct to expand on definitions and infractions so we don't leave, we want to avoid vague statements when it comes down to discipline. And the very last one is to assign team members to provide on-demand guidance and support to schools, which my department actually has what we call sprints, and those are online. Basically, my staff members or the team, they go online and they are there for any questions. Not that they're not there for any other time, but they're for sure there for any kind of questions that any school may have, so that they can have that assistance on demand. It is not the only way that they can reach the staff either. And then on the proactive side of things, this year, this is actually sponsored by the Department of Support Services. It is training on interventions. It is, and then it is open for every single school. The suggestions right now, just to be able to accommodate the number by demand, is 3 people from school, but I don't want to speak for my friends in support services, but I'm sure that they'll take as many as the school will send. No one is going to ever be turned around. And this is a little bit of what the training is about, or some of the basis that the work is based on. It is research-based. It is step-by-step guide for implementation. I'm not going to read the entire list for you, but at the end of the day, it's really to provide the school with some form of linear process, sometimes for very complex problems that we have, in the spirit of supporting the student and having the student at school learning, where, that is ultimately the goal. And who goes first? Lakewood?
So now we want to see kind of like what this looks in action and how a couple of schools have approached to do some good work for students. And Lakeworth High School, yeah, is first, okay.
Good morning, everyone, once again. So this is my 3rd year at Lakeworth High School, and I say that because Mr. Brooks and I are basically providing you with what does it look like when a new principal starts at a school, and then what does it look like in a few years after systems are now part of the culture on a regular basis. And so in the 2 years that I have completed there, you will see on this particular slide that across the board in all of our ethnicities, now we are a minority-majority school, and so you will see that the reason why there's so many incidents is because those are the majority of my students in those various subgroups. However, nonetheless, we have declined in every single area for the exception of the bottom right-hand quadrant that you see there with the ELL and the non-ELLs. My ELLs have kind of flatlined there, so that has been something that we have focused on a little bit more for this upcoming year and continue to tweak our systems. But across the board, you'll be able to see that we have dropped exponentially across the board in our incidents, whether it's by ethnicity, by gender, or as an ESE student or a non-ELL student.
Is there any way to make that bigger?
That I don't know. I don't think so.
So, well, I can tell you, only because I have my computer open. So over on the left, what you're looking at is by ethnicity. So you'll see that the largest bar on the left is black students. So it went from 258 to 207. The next highest Hispanic, 189 to 152. And then for other is 19 to 8. And then white, 35 to 28. To the right is gender, male, female and male. So the male is the higher bar for 23. Dropping to 242 and 24. Female, 162 to 145. Bottom left, ESC and non-ESC. So ESC went from a 111 to 75. Those are the lower bars. And the rest is non-ESC. Over to the right, English language learners versus non-English, and that's what she said. That was kind of flat line, 123, 124. And then non-ELL, 359 to 263. Okay.
Okay, so some of the things that we had to do is first start planning, right? There's a lot of conversations that has to go around because when you're doing things such as this and you're really trying to make an impact on a campus, you have to be intentional. It just can't be throw something out there and see if it works. And so one of the things that we identified was that our school did not have a very positive or a very prominent, rather, PBIS, or a positive behavior plan in our school. And what we started to do then is we start off with creating a team and start talking about what motivates students, what doesn't, what motivates teachers, what doesn't. Every year it's going to look different because your kids change and it can't always be every year doing the same thing. So it's important to have an active role in that as well as reflecting on our SEQ data. In addition to that, one of the things that came out of that was that having a principals club, because I could always see data on paper, I can always talk to someone, but having a principals club, what I felt was important was to have my actual student leaders on in my club. And so what does that mean? You're automatically thinking that you're going to have like your most high achieving students. Well, that's not what I wanted. I wanted an equal representation across my campus of a variety of different students. Some of them were nominated by their teachers. Some of them just nominated themselves. And all of those students had an opportunity to come, and we meet once a month. And we created it to be a safe space. I provide them lunch. And they just start talking, they'll start telling me, a lot of kids are skipping school from that back fence because the person that's there hasn't been there in 3 days. And I'm like, good to know. And they tell you things you don't realize yourself. So they've become part of my administrative team, and they love that title. We also started to reinforce attendance. As well as their tardies. I'll stand outside with a sign that says, school starts at 7:30. I have it in all 3 languages, and the kids laugh at me. And then now I make them stand with me when I notice that student who was habitually tardy is now on time. So an incentive is actually to hold the sign. And I know that sounds silly, but they like to then be that poster child, quote unquote, why we're holding a poster, of what improving attendance looks like. They like that recognition. I think we spend a lot of time sometimes emphasizing on the things that we're not doing, and we're only recognizing those high achieving students, but sometimes it's also recognizing those students that make those incremental successes. We also have 2 new police officers as of last year and as well as this year, and they have really incorporated themselves as part of the campus. They're out, they're visible, they're at every class change, they're at lunches, they're there in the morning, they're there in the afternoon, and they have become another mentor. They come to the football games, not just to work, but also to support and to be there. And I've also started to include them in part of these conversations on how do I shift this mindset? Because again, they come with a different lens. They're also able to tell me things that may be happening in the community that I'm not aware of, and I can get ahead of it and be proactive and try to shift that on my campus. Additionally, we then also provide incentive-centered mentorship programs. So one of the things that we have is that we had 40% of our Black and Hispanic males had over 11 absences in school year 23. And that was because of a lack of student engagement and that value in school. They didn't understand the value of it. A lot of them really just felt the need to have to go work versus understanding the importance of getting that high school diploma. So we identified who these students were, and we started to then create mentorship programs specifically for these targets of students, and had staff volunteer to be their mentors, similar to like a trusted adult, but taking it a little bit step further and really helping them understand the value with coming to school on time. And you know, we always talk and tell them that high school is your first experience of what you're going to behave and the habits you're going to create as you enter the workforce. So if you come to school late every day, that means you're going to be that employee that comes in late every day, and you're also going to be that business owner that's going to open your business late and therefore lose work and customers because they're going to the business that opened on time. So this is all part of that mentorship program, so they can see how it's all connected. So the way we started to move the needle was, as I mentioned, we created a committee for our PBIS, and we really started to have then these student assemblies, criteria-based pep rallies, so it wasn't everybody could go to the pep rally, to kind of give them that incentive to participate. And our pep rallies have now outgrown our gym, and now we have to do them on the football field because a lot of the students are really seeing the excitement behind that. We'll have like DJs during lunches, and these are all things that just get the kids excited to be at school, as well as to see that we're also their cheerleaders and supporting them. The Principals Club, as I mentioned, the kids give us their feedback. I mentioned their principal greets all the students. I'm always at the bus loop and the car loop. I kind of go back and forth. And then on Fridays, I'll send out parent links to to parents and students, reminding them that school starts at 7:30, especially for those students that come in late. And then one of the mentorship programs that we created was G-Men, which is getting our males engaged now. And that's what G-Men stands. So, you know, the kids had their T-shirts. They are proud G-Men. And so, you know, it's really great. But then you can't always just motivate the students, right? You also have to motivate your staff. And we understand that those two things go hand in hand, because if I have a grumpy teacher, I'm going to have a grumpy class, and I'm going to have very disgruntled students in the class. It all becomes a domino effect. So we have our campus supervision rounds where we have a walkie check, or area check. So if you see the top box on the top that says block and roll call person, so we'll get on the walkie, and then Mr. Sudeth, for example, from at 7:50, he'll start on, all days, he'll start at 7:50, start calling. How does building 15 look? Are we all clear? Did we check bathrooms? We're making sure that we're getting everybody into their classrooms to have a clear campus and everyone's in class. If they're not in class, they're not learning. We also are, clearing hallways and whatnot. We do situational leadership, where every altercation, I make sure that I am meeting with the students, because it's not just, you got into a fight, take your 10 days, I'll see you when you get back. We have to really work together to make sure that they understand that their choices impact more than just that fight. I want to know what we're going to do next, how we're going to do better. We have administrative duties and roll calls. The classroom call log, if I have a teacher that is continuously calling the office for assistance, does that teacher need training? Does he or she need additional support? Is it that the chemistry in that class needs assistance, right? Is it that we have to maybe move a couple of students around because they're not getting along? Elena and Kevin just can never be in the same class. So is it things like that? But it's never for an I got you. It's more as to how can we improve and do better and grow. We also have what we call our high five. So my intent is that every time I see someone, or I tell my staff, whenever you see someone that's, within 5 feet from you, you should be able to high five them and give them that encouragement. So the staff themselves will put out in this form that we send out, is they will then give a high five to Corey for co-presenting with me at a presentation, or, whatever it is, or he brought me a cup of coffee. And so little things like that, just giving those shout outs, but that is open to anyone on the campus, non-instructional, instructional, and that has really helped with morale. And it really encourages people to take chances in helping one another and really support the initiatives that we have on campus, because we always say on our campus, we have to carry kindness with us everywhere that we go. And moving forward, things that we're implementing is that, we're obviously going to continue with our systems, because we're seeing some great benefits happening with that. ISS last year used to be sporadic. A lot of times students want to be sent home so that they don't have to be in school, but while they're in ISS, they're actually working and they're completing assignments. It's not like it's just a free-for-all. But it used to be sporadic. Now this year, we have more of a consistent system with it, and we're able to monitor the productivity that the students are doing, and they don't like to go there. So the incentive is they want to stay in class because they now know that out-of-school suspension is really a last resort that we do on our campus. And again, this is for level 2 or higher, Melissa, so no worries on that. We don't, we're following the rules and the law. We also have our metal detectors and our student conductor system. We didn't have that before, so we really weren't able to adequately track the tardies, and now we have that, so we've invested money into that. Our single point of entry, and we also are limiting our modified bells for testing. That was something that after research on our campus and surveys, we had identified that every time we're on a modified bell for testing, so for example, today we're doing PSAT, instead of the bell ringing every 50 minutes or every 90 minutes, depending on the day, the bell won't ring for 3 hours because students are testing. Well, the kids get restless, those that are not testing in the classroom, and they start to become a disruption on the campus. So what we've done with our new bell system that is now being rolled out in many schools, we're able to control those bells, so only one building that is testing has a modified bell and the rest of the campus is operating. So that has also been a very popular feature this year, not only with the students, but also with the staff. And with that, I'm going to pass it over as to what will this hopefully look like 7 years down the road as I continue my tenure at Lake Worth. Thank you for this opportunity to share and showcase my school.
And great work.
Thank
If you could write your questions down.
Oh, sorry.
What?
Oh, high five. Yes, high five, everyone.
And we'll
There's a
do
question.
questions after both presentations,
Okay.
if that's okay. Mr. Brooks.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Corey Brooks, proud principal of William T. Dwyer High School, where success is unavoidable. And I would just like to thank Mr. Oswald and Mrs. Patterson at this time for allowing me to present some of the good things that are going on at my school. As Mrs. Villani said, this is year 7 for me, so a lot of the things that she has in place, not only have we done, but it works. I just want to stand firm and say it works. But now I can say as we transition at my school into double-digit years, hopefully, it's become a mindset on my campus. So I'll try to do my best this morning to explain some of that to you all, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Sounds good? As you can see, the title of my presentation it starts with the school mission and vision. Like I said, our mission is to make success unavoidable, and we do that through 4 C's. That's clarity, consistency, continuity, and also courage. But moving forward, I change the theme every year, and our theme this year is Where You Belong, because we're really doubled down on our focus with inclusivity. We really want every student on campus, every staff member on campus to feel the family feel, but most of all, to understand what that looks like and to know what the parent the way is. So I'll share some of that with you right now. I'm proud to say that my school is probably one of the most diverse high schools in the county. If you, I tell everybody, if you just ride down Military Trail, if you start on, Indiantown, you'll see 80% of the high schools in Palm Beach County. Just take Indiantown and just take it south, all right, on Military Trail. But my school, as you can see, is extremely diverse. And diversity is good when you're talking about it, but like Mrs. Villani said, when you're living it, it's really tough because you have to code switch a lot. And you have to really make sure that you're dealing with your students on an individual basis. She called it situational leadership, and I completely agree with her totally. You have to utilize situational leadership because when you serve that many diverse backgrounds, every student has a different mindset and approach to their academics, my governance and culture at the school, but also their parents do too. So it can't be cookie cutter. So you have to look at every child as an individual and not only support them, but embrace their backgrounds and really work with them on understanding how you do things at your school. All right? And if you guys could, at the end of this slide, just kind of clap for me. I'm feeling a little sad this morning. But it's too funny because I've been working with Mr. Oswald my entire career. He's been super supportive of me through my whole administrative track. So when he originally reached out to me to do this, I was complaining, But if you look at it, I understood why he picked Dwyer, because if you look at the ODR, that stands for just referrals. When I first came to Dwyer, we averaged about 2,000 referrals a year. And now, as of last year, that's down to 329. That's an 83% reduction. So I was like, oh, I see why Mr. Oswald picked me. And like I said before, in tandem with Mrs. Villani, it's all mindset work. And she'll get there by year 7 because she has the focus, and she has the drive. But you can look at our out-of-school suspensions, and when I put those numbers up, those numbers basically just symbolize how many times students were suspended. So in 2018, we had 304 individual suspensions. Now we're down to 116 as of last year. And with our in-school suspension program, you see those are averaging 60% reduction. So I'm very proud of my staff because, like Mrs. Patterson said, not only does those reductions mean that kids are in school, kids are feeling safe, kids feel a part, but our school is now an A school, and it hadn't been an A in close to 15 years. So we've garnered that A grade because not only are the students attending school and doing what they need to do to make sure the campus is safe, but they're learning, and you see it with our school grade, and you see it with the suspension, the referral, and the in-school suspension reductions, okay? Some of the things that we're doing now, that I'm doing now in year 7, I believe what you expect, you inspect. So as principal, this is not just delegatory work to me, it's work that I own. So my secretary staff knows to print out every piece of paper that has a student involvement in it and give it to me on Fridays. And you know, as I prepare for the week on Sundays, I read everything. And like Ms. Villani said, that gives me just tangible instructions for that following Monday, whether it be, Johnny, what happened last week? You know what I mean? You were all over the place. And also that teacher, I look at the room check logs because oftentimes, guys, it's not about, and I got you, it's, hey, how can I support? So if I see a teacher that had read a lot of referrals the week before or had a lot of room checks, I'll meet with that teacher individually and I'll set the stage. They know it's how can I support, and it also allows me to deploy resources and to provide support in a specific fashion. Many of you guys know the 4DX model. That's just a way of business continuity and conversations. I do that. So I meet with my teams regularly. We discuss goals, we discuss next steps, and we create scoreboards throughout the campus. The kids really get involved. We're super transparent. We set behavior goals for the month. If the kids meet those behavior goals, we celebrate. Just like Mrs. Villani, I have a lot of fun lunches where I kind of take some of the guardrails off during lunch. I bring out music. I'll invite Bahama Breeze. I incentivize students with tickets. They get free items, you name it. But if we meet our discipline goals for the month, they'll have a fun lunch. My school-based team is extremely robust with diverse mindsets and staff members from different backgrounds, and we dig in and we talk about the kids, and they do great work when we deploy the resources. I also have one-on-ones with my assistant principals every other week because those are the ones that are in a fickle situation, and what I mean by that is they're in the situation where they can push information up and push information down. So they have to advise me properly, but they also have to support the students and the kids. So those bi-weekly one-on-ones with them not only ensure that they're on the same page with my vision, but also, too, that gives me opportunities to coach them up. How did I move the needle? Those of you guys that know me personally and professionally, I try to bring the fun. Life is too short to be negative or overgeneralized, and I tell that to my staff. I'm like, this school is a great place. We have to believe that. If you hear anything derogatory about a school, that typically comes from within. Kids need to be proud of their school. They need to be proud of their environment, but also staff members, it is our obligation to not only educate these kids, but to provide a safe, conducive environment to learning. So I'm a big morale person, so I make sure that we have a welcoming experience as soon as those kids come on campus. They don't have the coping strategies that we have as adults. So if they're having a bad day, they need to see school as a safe place. If they get off the bus and they're met with negativity, like Ms. Villani said, that's going to carry over to the classroom. So I'm a little older than most people in the room, and there used to be a commercial to turn that frown upside down. Remember that? So that's what I say to my staff members. If you see a frown, turn it upside down. So I make sure we have welcoming spirits at every place that we induct students on campus. At a high school campus, your office can become a black hole. You can work a full day and not see one kid. So strategically, I've moved my office to the hallways. So I have a satellite office, and I develop a rotational schedule with the APs because at a high school, visibility is everything. Kids want to be able to talk to the principal, they want to be able to share things, but also, too, they have to look at you outside of suspensions and detentions. They have to know that your role there also is to advocate for them, because many of them don't know how to advocate. So when parents are around, you have to model that for them. So with the satellite office, it gives me an opportunity to not only be in the midst of the students, but also to show the hall monitors and the people that do the security work that I'm on board with them too. I use deliberate messaging with social media call-outs and newsletters and parents and staff, and that really helps because I have to just double down on what Ms. Patterson, Mr. Oswald, and Mrs. Villani said. Nothing can be cookie cutter when you're dealing with the lives of children. It has to be situational. So whatever the trend of the month is, whether it's, too many students in the hallway using the restroom, I do a call out about restrooms. Hey, parents, make sure they're using the restroom at home. You know what I mean? It's just funny to me how my students that are reluctant learners have to use the restroom all the time. But my high achievers never have to use the restroom. Maybe we'll do a study on that, Ms. Villani. But now that my campus, the incidents have lowered, I strategically market what I want to see change. And now that the frequency is lower, it gives me an opportunity to be extremely strategic with my call-outs, messaging, and my newsletters. And also, too, a shift from being so punitive. Now I exercise more of the natural consequences. You give a kid 10 days home, unfortunately, they enjoy it because that gives them additional time with the video game, and you have to look at the learning that is lost. So if I'm able to lessen the suspension days, but maybe take a privilege away from them, that seems to be more impactful, especially with my athletes. Just saying, all right? So I make sure that I'm involved with that. Like Ms. Villani said, I sit in on all level 3, level 4 infraction hearings, and I put in my 2 cents, but also it gives me an opportunity to coach and mentor children. And with that being said, how do I keep this going? What's next for Dwyer? It's really mindset work and just reinforcing the Panther way and just that where you belong mindset of inclusivity. So I end every meeting now because typically it's how we're wired as human beings. We can remember negative things for 40, 50 years, but it's hard for us to recall the good. If I asked everybody in the room who was their worst teacher, you probably could name it in 2 seconds. And I asked you who was your best teacher, it'll probably take you an hour or so. So just to shift that subconscious with my staff, we end every meeting, and they have to tell me who's a Dwyer difference maker. They have to tell me that. It's so funny. You go to a school and you ask Mr. Oswald, okay, give me 10 kids that I need to remove. Any administrator could give you 10 kids in just a couple seconds. But you said, tell me 10 kids who do everything right, make all A's, are super respectful, and come to school every day. We'll be scratching our heads, right, Ms. Villani? So I own that. So I'm changing the mindset at my campus. So now we're identifying the kids and the staff members that are stellar, and I'm celebrating them every month. Every month we're doing celebrations. I send out Google surveys to teachers, tell me your students that are just killing it in the classroom, and I deliberately do that work because you think about it on our campuses, what student or what staff member typically gets the principal's attention all the time? Is it the one that's doing everything right, or is it the one that's doing everything wrong? And you have to be conscientious of what message you're sending to your staff and students. So now we prioritize incentivizing, but also just bringing attention to the people that are doing it right. We're in the process of increasing our positive behavior supports team. And like I said earlier, we're focusing on the students and the staff members that are stellar. And I'm doing a better job as principal of collaborating with my feeder middle schools to not only learn the students that may need a little extra attention, but also the students that are doing a great thing so I can continue to incentivize their success when they come to my campus. Thank you guys for the opportunity. If you're ever in North County, feel free to stop by. And like I said, we're doing great things at Dwyer, and I really appreciate the support that I get from Mr. Oswald and Mrs. Patterson. Thank you, guys.
Good job. Mr. Brooks kind of just touched it briefly about his school-based team. I do have to shout out, because I always thought I had a good school-based team meetings when I was a principal, but mine don't fail in comparison. What he does to make sure that every kid is paired up with a caring adult, and I mean, he could do a whole presentation around that piece that has really helped kids with significant challenges in their lives, really kind of turn things around. So very impressed with that, that work we're trying to model and push up as well. Also, he probably would do autographs. You may have seen him on some commercials. He is part of the referendum advertisements, so I'm sure he'll sign any autographs. So in case you've seen the referendum commercials out there, Mr. Brooks is in that. So we wanted to give you a couple examples here of some of the work of how we're trying to, change that culture. You can see from the presentations, it's layers of work, not just one thing that kind of makes a difference in the culture and climate. But this group always has questions, so which is good, or feedback. So we're going to go ahead and open it up to. Can you help me out here? Thanks, Jonathan. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. Chair, Vice Chair Oliver.
Looking at the room, anyone in the room with any questions for our presenters or online? Comments?
Yes.
I'm sorry, there we go.
You're on. The red's it. You're good.
And please remember to introduce yourself so team members online can hear.
Maybe I'll bring it a little bit closer. Cassandra Corbin Thaddeus with Connect to Greatness. I just want to say, I'm going to hold this like I'm presenting, sorry, because I can't do this. I just want to say thank you for the presentations. It is so inspiring. I couldn't hardly sit in my seat. I was so excited about what you all are doing and how you're thinking about it. I mean, it's just so refreshing to hear and see you all being so thoughtful and intentional about the work that you're doing with our students and including your staff in the process. So I just want to say kudos to you and thank you so much for what you're doing and modeling for the rest of the district. I had a couple of questions around, let's see, I had a couple of questions. First of all, are we going to get the presentation?
Sure, we can share it out.
Will we be able to get the presentation? That'd be great. And then there was a question about, I have a question about, do all the schools have a PBIS?
Yes, we're a PBIS district.
So, because I thought I heard that some schools did or some schools didn't, but every school.
Implementation varies, so stronger fidelity, I think those schools, we tend to see stronger results in lower discipline and climate issues. So it depends on the level of implementation. The state also has a recognition program, which we could do a whole presentation on that sits under Ms. Patterson's wheelhouse. We have a team that goes out to work with schools around, implementing PBIS.
Thank you. Love the Principals Club, by the way. And I think that's it. And I love the idea of not being cookie cutter and then really being intentional about how, you do the work that you're doing, Mr. Brooks, as well. So that's it. Thank you.
I like the idea you said you move your office around. And how big is the school that you can get away and move to different places?
Our school, it's huge. If you've ever seen it from Military Trail, it looks like a junior college. It's maybe 37 acres.
Oh, okay.
And with all the tasks that Ms. Villani and I have to do during the day, we can work a full day and not see a kid. And I mean when I say that because it's so many things that we're required to do. So you just have to be strategic in your priorities. Another cool stat, Mr. Oswald, a lot of people don't know it, that Mrs. Villani and I taught elementary school together, and our classrooms were side by side. She was our fourth grade team leader, and I was extremely competitive and still is. So I think a lot of our ideas mirror because we were brought up the same way. And it's just so refreshing to see her in this role as well as I'm, because not only is she a colleague but a friend. But it's just, like I said, it's what you expect, you inspect. And I think with our elementary backgrounds, it's very easy for us to see the individual child. And because on the elementary level, that's a non-negotiable. You have to treat every kid as an individual. But moving forward, as a visionary, as a leader, you have to be creative. And that was the only way that I can see myself responding to my 200 emails a day and getting in front of kids. So I walk around with my laptop. I keep it in my arm, but every custodian knows to set up a chair or a desk in every corner of the campus. Like I said, we have 8 buildings. We're on 30-plus acres. And the kids will just come out of class, and they'll see me sitting there, you know what I mean, with
Do
my
they have
whistle.
to make an appointment, or?
No,
No, you just walk in?
no, they'll walk up. I'm right there in the hallway, so they'll walk up.
Awesome.
And like I said, as of today, I'm here with you right now, so I have an assistant principal. I do a rotation by block, so I'll have somebody there for the kids for immediate attention. Because one of my announcements every morning, I do the announcements every morning, and I say pretty much the same thing every morning. I give morning expectations. And the last thing I say, if you have an issue, please report it to an adult. And with Trend Data, I see a lot of my students, when they take issues into their own hands and it becomes a power struggle with the teacher, that's when it just goes downhill. So if you're there to just answer those questions and to give them guidance in real time, and Ms. Villani will tell you too, sometimes just to de-escalate them, just to de-escalate them and say, hey, cut it out. Think about what you're doing, just calm down. Walk with me to my office. That discipline data will shift. Kids will not only buy in, they'll begin to trust you, and you'll see a difference through the attitude and the mindset of your students.
We do
It's
a
an
lot of
awesome idea.
walk and talk.
Mhm.
When you're walking and talking, it just automatically just kind
You
of.
turn your mic on, please.
We'll do a lot of like walk and talks, like, when I see them, I'm like, just come and walk and talk with me, let's go for a walk, and that just automatically de-escalates, and it's not that I'm taking their side or anybody's side, so it's similar to what Mr. Brooks is saying, it's just that walking just automatically de-escalates. You shouldn't need to make an appointment to come see me. We don't make an appointment to see our parents, and that's kind of how I tell them, I'm like, I'm here. Now, of course, if it's something that's lengthy, then that's a whole different story, but for the most part, exactly what he said.
Thank you, Mr. Burgon and Ms. Villani and Mr. Brooks. Any comments from online? Well, thank you so very much for these presentations. Dr. Robinson, we see you.
Hey, Dr. Robinson, you're not going to raise your hand?
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah, I was holding out, right? So, all right, so wonderful presentation. So I was so glad to hear about the school-based teams being used effectively, because I know that at least what they look like on paper, if they worked effectively, they would solve so many problems. So I have 2 questions. The first is, so does Mr. Brooks teach, train, show other principals or even members of school-based teams how to have an effective school-based team?
I can tell you what we asked him to do, and if he's done on his own. I asked him to share to the other high school principals in our breakout 2 months ago, I think it was, as well as a couple other principals, Ms. Villani and who's Forest Hill, right? Forest Hill High School as well, Principal Aronson, of the schools we identified, so they have. I don't know if you've done other groups.
First of all, I can't help myself, Mr. Oswald. Dr. Robinson, I leaned over to Mrs. Villani, and I said, I bet you Dr. Robinson asked some questions, didn't I? and I'm so happy that you turned on your mic and that you didn't hold back, because I would have lost the bet. We didn't tie any monetary to it, but Dr. Robinson, as Mrs. Patterson and Mr. Oswald has not only been a super supporter of me, but she was my board member for 9 years when I was the principal at JFK. So she's not only supported, but also guided me through this work. But to answer your question, Dr. Robinson, Mr. Oswald will reach out. I think you referred Congress to me. I've met with Congress Middle. He does a good job since he started leading this work of referring schools to me, but I'm open, Dr. Robinson. It's just tough because I do have a school to run, but if they can set up a cadre visit and they come over, because I think it's better when they see it in action, because like I said, you inspect what you expect, and with moving to Dwyer, It was different for me because I had been in DA schools for 21 years, but Dwyer didn't have a severe academic focus, but they did have a focus on needing to fix broken kids. So we really invested resources, time, and people into school-based team. And not to brag, but I would say, Mr. Oswald, I think I have a better school-based team, and we're committed to it, and I put a lot of resource into it. But Doc, if you know of anybody or anything, you know I'm willing to help, but either let Mr. Oswald know or contact me directly because we host schools all the time. So, but Mr. Oswald does send me schools directly sometimes.
That's right, I forgot about that.
So I would like to suggest that somehow, like this presentation, because I think it's effective to have kind of the quotes starting out and then the 7 years experienced principal sharing this information. Maybe it's part of some of these principal meetings. Like, I don't know who, well, I do know who to say that to. So yeah, I think that's how maybe it should be done. And then they can then follow up with you after that. But the other question that I had, and I guess to request a brief response before they mute me, is how do you use your behavioral health professionals? How do they fit in this picture?
So, good morning, Dr. Robinson. Nice to hear from you. I worked with her when I was an AP at Palm Beach Lakes, and we opened up the clinic together. So one of the ways that we use our BHP is exactly for that. It's a behavioral health therapy, right? So it's not, we try to do it where it's proactive as well as reactive. If we see that a student is starting to show some red flags before it becomes a major issue, we'll flag it through, whether it's school-based team or a teacher may just say, hey, can you come and talk to Elena? All of a sudden she's been out a lot, her grades are slipping. Try to become more of like an intervention, a proactive intervention. I know that's an oxymoron, but trying to get them to come and assist, as well as when you have that student that is struggling with making good decisions on a regular basis, is helping that student meet with them so that they can start to learn other coping aspects. Like, you know, like Mr. Brooks said, a lot of our students don't have those coping mechanisms. I don't know why this generation doesn't cope as well as perhaps a previous generation, but it's really teaching those strategies. He also will present at our faculty meetings and provide teachers with strategies. And he'll also be a part of our student assemblies and also just kind of give like a coping strategy for, you know, to work on. And that's all part of our Taking Chances theme for this year. He's really actively involved in that as we take chances to make good choices by, you know, kind of deviating to the other way.
Someone asked me, I think that our principals stay in the same schools for
Mr. Ferguson, can you mute?
Oh, I thought that was another question. Okay. And so those are just some ways that we use our BHP, and I'll transfer it over to Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Ms. Villani. Dr. Robinson, my sentiment is exact with Ms. Villani. They're the interventionists, proactivity work, but I just want to double down on one thing she said that's providing tremendous dividends on my campus that kind of happened organically. I'm blessed to have had my behavioral health professional as a student at Suncoast. He was one of my students, and his brother was just one of our Palm Beach County athletes that was inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame, Lenoris Hester. So
seriously, you stole him from Gardens.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dr. Robinson, but you're as always, you're absolutely correct. I donated a lot of cash to Safe Schools to get Lenoris on my campus, but I really want to just double down on what Ms. Villani said. Mr. Oswald, my BHP now is paying tremendous dividends by educating staff. Because typically when administration talk to staff, it can be chippy. You know, it can be adversarial, it can be top down, but he just has a way with words, and he goes in and he talks to teachers about interventions. He talks to teachers about, you know, just talking to kids a certain kind of way. He shares what he's doing with the kids and how he can support. And now, not only has he developed inroads with some of my students that need his support, he's developed inroads with some of my teachers, Mr. Oswald, who lack empathy, for better words, and he's working with them with that. So everything Ms. Villani said with the day-to-day operations, but also too, I just wanted to reinforce what she said about working with teachers, because that's huge on my campus, because if the teachers aren't on board, guys, you're wasting your time. All right? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson. Any other comments? I wanted to make sure I didn't hear anything else from Dr. Robinson. Thank you. There's a comment online. Mr.
Couple comments in there, are, a couple comments in the chat box. Impressive from Kimberly Spiro. Reggie wrote, taking a village approach is a win-win for the staff, youth, and parents. I want to thank both presenters for putting our children first. And Dr. Robertson, Mr. Brooks is the person that taught me that we have traumatized children that grow up on our campuses.
Thank you.
On our campus.
Thank you for the comments online. Michelle Beatty.
Hello, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing the data. It was really impressive to see that the trend data and to see the numbers moving in the way that we all want them to go. And I just wanted to also speak outside of my role here as part of ESC Advisory, but as a community member representing JFK North Hospital, I can speak firsthand to when I have consent with parents working with staff at both of your high schools. And the dedication and the amount of true investment that they have in your students is evident in all of their interactions. So I just want to thank you. They are great leaders on your campuses and are always willing for open communication, and we're able to talk about interventions and supports and next step for students in that collaborative way. So just wanted to thank both of you.
Thank you so much, and I echo all the comments. It's greater to hear the good that is happening across our district instead of focusing on the negative, and we have real-life examples of improvements. Thank you so much for your presentations on the best practices that are happening, and we hope that we can emulate them across the county and with input from this committee and others that are stakeholders within our community. Thank you so much. We are moving along with the agenda.
You guys are welcome to stay, or you're, I know you got. Oh, you have St. Lucia as high school principals. And then just, Principal Brooks, I know you're over the association. The policy changed to where we added one principal to be a liaison with the DDC committee. And the principal that was on here before is no longer principal in the district. So if you could work to help us connect with getting a principal representation, we would love to have someone to attend these meetings. And obviously they can attend virtually as well. Sorry.
No worries. We move on with the presentation for agency presentations. Up first, we have El Sol Jupiter.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
And a quick thank you also for those presentations. They were very, very enlightening. I had a PowerPoint. I don't know if you have control over it over there.
He's turning it on.
Okay, thank you. It's a lot, so I'm going to try to fly through this, but if you have any questions, please stop me. Not sure how many of you are familiar with El Sol. We're up in Jupiter, very local organization working within our area. But our mission is to improve the quality of life for everybody in Jupiter by providing services primarily to the day labor community up here in Jupiter. This shows you our core values: integrity, responsible stewardship, respect for others, and immigrant integration. The majority of our clients do come from other countries. Historically, the majority of our clients have been Guatemalan, from very rural Guatemala and southern Mexico, but we're seeing a big change. We're seeing more South Americans, Venezuela specifically. We've had clients from Ukraine. We've got a couple from India right now in our English classes. We have about 40-some flags flying in our, not flying, but hanging in the walls of our center that represent at least one person who we've helped that comes from that country. And we're here to serve the most vulnerable residents in Jupiter by empowering them with the tools to thrive. Our ultimate goal is self-sufficiency. We're not a charity in the sense of just giving away free things. We're here to help develop skills so that people can become independent. Can you move to the next slide, please? So Sol opened about over 18 years ago in response to a situation that was happening on the streets of Jupiter. A day labor market had formed, and I'm sure many of you have seen this in other areas of the county where day laborers congregate on the street, or they might congregate in a parking lot at Home Depot or gas stations, corners, to be picked up for a day of work. Well, here in Jupiter, it was all happening on one street, primarily Center Street, and the local residents really started complaining to the town about this. And not only was this causing issues with the local residents, traffic and loitering and trash and et cetera, there was also the other side of the coin where workers were getting picked up, taken for a day of work, hard work outside in the hot sun, roofing, construction, landscaping, manual labor, and then dropped off and not paid. And they would be told, you did a great job. I want to come back tomorrow and pick you up again. And people wouldn't show up, or they would just drop them off and speed away. So this was a really bad situation any way you looked at it. And much to the credit to our leaders in Jupiter at the time and currently, because they still support us, our town council decided to do something about this instead of just ignoring the problem. So what happened? An ordinance was put into place prohibiting the solicitation of employment on the streets of Jupiter. The minute the town did that, now they're stepping on a person's freedom of speech, because employment solicitation is part of freedom of speech. So what they did is they opened up, they provided the space that we work out of so that we could open and have a day labor hall on town property. So the building we operate out of is owned by the town of Jupiter, and we maintain that strong partnership through today. We can move on. So the center, and the next one, please. The center started out primarily as a labor hall. So you come in here, you need to, our workers register in the morning. If you need someone to, do a landscaping project, or you're a small contractor and you need extra help today, you come in and you pick up a worker from whoever showed up today. You pay them cash. We don't take any fees from anybody. And the negotiation, the amount that's going to be paid is negotiated between the employer and the employee. We're not an employment agency. But around this, we have grown to provide services in 6 different areas. We're really looking at the whole person and try to provide support to the family. So we have our labor program. We have, I'm going to leave adult and youth for the end. We have our food and nutrition program. We provide a hot meal every morning. We also have a community garden out here in the back where 30 plots that people can have access to grow organic produce and have, which, as you can know, is very expensive if you try to go to the store and buy that. 10% of what is grown in that garden comes into our kitchen. In our annual survey, we normally get at least 50% of our clients saying that the meal that they get here at El Sol is the main meal of the day for them. So for us, it's important they have at least one nutritious meal in them. We also provide classes in education on nutrition, healthy eating, how to read a label, that kind of information. Community care is a program where we offer we have 4 case managers. And we also provide health and referrals for health issues. We don't provide direct medical care, but we do make sure that people get the care they need and the education they need. And we constantly have, when school's about to start, we have, for example, the health department comes in and does vaccinations for kids for school or for adults. We have them coming in a couple of weeks for flu, COVID. We want to make sure that our clients have access to the resources they need to be healthy, and that they've got the information they need to maintain health. Adult education is divided in two areas. We have adult literacy. We have adults learning how to read and write in Spanish, all the way up to getting their GED. And then, of course, we have ESL classes. Our nighttime ESL classes is a structured English language program with 4 levels. In the mornings, while workers are waiting for work, we have very informal conversational table talks. So where volunteers come in and help our clients practice speaking English. Youth development. This is the one that's growing the most. And
Can't imagine anyone else understand it.
Mr. Ferguson,
our youth development program is growing, and it's the area where I see more future growth also. We're working closely with our schools. We're providing support for our English language learners from elementary school all the way up to high school. We have a tutoring program in the afternoons. We have, for the elementary school, we have young children coming in to get the basics, the basic reading and the basic arithmetic and homework help. We're not trying, our tutoring is not about the content that's going to be on a test. It's about the basic skills, and it's one-on-one or two-on-one. We work with our schools. The schools have after-school tutoring, but it can't always be in that very small group setting like we're able to offer. And just last week, I was actually on vacation last week in Guatemala, and I got a message from one of the 3rd grade teachers at Jupiter Elementary thanking us and saying how much progress she's seeing in one of her students. And it's great because it also allows us contact with the parents, you know, and that one-on-one contact with the parents, and sometimes helping the parent feel comfortable to go speak to their teacher. You know, many of you know this better than I do, but sometimes the parents themselves are not comfortable within the school system. They come from, especially those from Guatemala, in that rural area of Guatemala, they haven't, many of them haven't finished, you know, 2nd, 3rd grade themselves. So for them it's intimidating, the idea of them to go into a school and talk to a teacher. So we're here to support the parents as well. We have a school for parents to also work with the parents on things like discipline and just navigating life in a different country for them. One of the principals, Ms. Bilani, mentioned her G-Men group, you know, working with the men, the males, the boys. We have something similar here with our middle school. We call them Los Caballeros del Sol, the gentlemen. It doesn't sound quite the same in English as in Spanish, but what we're trying to do is work with these boys with topics like, you know, bullying and respect and how to treat girls, volunteering, homework help, and everything, but it's focused on boys. We have a group that's focused on girls. It's been around for many, many years, but we felt like it was also important to work with the boys. You know, the middle school, Jupiter Middle School, actually, some of the teachers there were telling us some of the behaviors that they were seeing from the boys, which unfortunately sometimes models what they see at home. So we started a group with girls, but we don't really just want to teach girls how to protect themselves from these evil men. We also want to teach the boys proper behavior. And it's a small group. It's been a couple of years now, but it's growing, and hopefully we're going to see some long-term success with that. And at the high school level, we're also doing homework help with volunteers, going in and helping primarily the English language learners, giving them support, you know, as they go through school. The last school program that I'm trying to get implemented this year, it's been something I've been wanting to do for many years now, is, as many of you know, a lot of high school students are placed by their age, even when their academic level is very low. So you might have someone going in, you know, 16-year-old going into, I guess they'd be a sophomore or junior, but they bring a 3rd or 4th grade level education, plus they don't speak English. Even Spanish sometimes is a second language, no computer skills. And so they end up dropping out, or they don't show up, or they don't even enroll. So we're trying to capture those students in a pilot program right now and help them get their GED in Spanish, utilizing a program that we have from the adult education program from Mexico. So we help get them up to level academically in Spanish so that they can then prep and take the GED in Spanish. This is something we're just trying to get it off the ground right now. We have a summer camp. We work very closely with the police department and ordinance and having them come in and talk to our clients. Community Life is our volunteer program. I'm going to go over time, so I'm not going to go into details. Can we go to the next slide just to give you some numbers? These are numbers for 2023. We filled over almost 11,000 jobs with 648 unduplicated workers, and we had over 2,000 employers use us last year. 500 of those were brand new. The next slide is our adult ed. We had 256 unduplicated adults participating in our evening literacy classes. We also have workshops and vocational training workshops. Our next slide. I'm not going to go through all these numbers. Community care, this is our health, our case management. Again, over 2,000 visits. And community life is everyone. We depend on volunteers. We see over 2,000 clients and over 2,000 employers a year and I've got a staff of 14 full-time people and some part-timers. So we really depend on our volunteers. Next, food and nutrition. We served over 22,000 meals last year. Workers also get a bagged lunch that they can take with them. And the next one, youth development. We have a very, very small summer camp, but it's a 6-week summer camp, full day, where children are exposed to not only some tutoring, but also field trips and outside activities that they would normally get to go to. We'll go to the Morikami Museum, we get them swimming classes, we'll go to the zoo, just different activities that they normally wouldn't get. And then we also provide legal assistance via legal aid. They send a lawyer here on Thursdays to provide legal assistance. And the next, how can you support El Sol? The biggest way to support El Sol is by hiring a worker. Our clients, what they want is independence. What they want is to be able to pay their bills and support their families. And volunteering and, of course, donations. And I think that's it. Is there one more? Thank you. And I don't know if anybody has any questions.
I have one question.
We have a question in the room.
Okay.
Susan, thank you for the presentation. Really enlightening, and really appreciate what you all have done in that community. My question is about the payment piece that really stuck out to me. How are you ensuring that they are receiving payment post their work that they're doing?
In their job. So the employers register as well. We take a name and contact information. If it happens rarely now compared to when this labor market was on the street, if there's a question with payment, normally it's not that they don't get paid, but maybe they don't get paid as much as was agreed upon, or if there's any situation like that, the clients will come to us, they'll come to our case management team, and then we follow up with the employer. Most of the time it's a miscommunication that we can get it figured out, but if not, we refer them to legal aid for more, follow-up.
Thank you so much. We have comments. Juan?
Question, Suzanne, hi, how you doing?
Hey.
You mentioned about the health issues. Do you guys cooperate or work together with La Caridad Clinic in Boynton? I know distance is an issue, but.
Distance is a big issue in transportation. Most of our clients show up by foot or on bike. But we have done things with Caridad. We have sent, I remember when COVID hit, the first vaccines that we were able to get for clients was down at Caridad. And we sent a group of people down there before we could get them up in Jupiter. We work very closely with my clinic, which is up here in Jupiter, the healthcare district, and of course the health department.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments or questions? Questions online? Seeing none, thank you so much, Suzanne, for your presentation. It's so informative to know what's happening in that area. Looking at our time clock and the agenda, I am asking, if possible, if our district ESC advisory committee wouldn't mind presenting at our next meeting so we can conserve time and have FAU, since they're visiting with us, present. Is that okay?
That's fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Kimberly. Appreciate.
Thank you so very much, Kimberly, for accommodating us and our time crunch. We want to make sure that everyone gets equal and adequate amount of time to present their information. Up next, we have Sabrina from FAU Card.
Just, no, if you, there you go, it's on now.
Oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. So, hi everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. We are FAU Center for Autism and Related Disabilities. Thank you very much. Our mission is to optimize the potential of individuals with autism. It's a state-funded program, so we're completely, we're completely free. It's funded by the Department of Education. We don't take insurance. We don't ask families for really anything except to sign our consent form and for proof of diagnosis or a suspicion of autism. We do serve all ages, all races, ethnic backgrounds, and gender groups across the state of Florida. FAU Card can help families by giving expert one-on-one consultations with families. We also provide autism-specific screenings. We have various safety resources that we collaborate with in the community. In Palm Beach County, we work with Project Lifesaver. We also provide those bracelets to families in need, specifically focusing on those of low income that can't afford to get one of those devices themselves. We do help with the application process and send the application directly to Project Lifesaver, which will then connect it to the police department. And for those of you that don't know what Project Lifesaver is, it's a tracking device for children who engage in elopement. This year specifically, there's been many drownings in the district, but across the 5-county region that we serve, specifically for children with autism. So we've had a big priority always, but specifically in the last year, on safety and providing these safety resources to the community, but also these safety trainings to parents and how to keep our children safe, not only from wandering and elopement and drowning, but also we have to understand that it's not just the water that we're surrounded by, right? There's traffic. We do have children that have been found on the train tracks wandering without shoes. And we will get called in by the police department to come and assist those families. And so we want to prevent that from happening. Provide any child that needs it with those tracking devices, with a safety box. There's over $150 worth of materials in our safety boxes that we provide to families completely free. We have done a training series that our next one is going to be provided in Indian River as a response to the drowning that occurred up there a few months ago. And it's a series of 4 trainings where we provide specific resources on safety and strategies for parents to implement right now in their homes. I am actually running a training on 3 specific water safety skills that you could help teach your son or daughter in the water in order to help prevent a drowning incident from occurring. I've tried it with my own daughter. She is 3, and it actually does work. We've watched the Frozen movie, and she noticed that Elsa was struggling in the water, and she goes, "Mommy, she didn't say help, help." And that's very true. We've been practicing that every single time we're in the pool, just making the children aware that incidents can occur. We connect with many community resources and community agencies such as El Sol and some of the ones that you've heard mentioned here, and we help in collaboration. I've worked specifically with Lisette Martinez from Palm Beach School District and Kim Berryhill from SEDNet. She has come to various trainings, and we've collaborated on some safety resources as well in the Belle Glades area. Our CARD Center covers 5 counties in the state of Florida. As you heard me mentioned, it's a state-funded program. Anywhere that you live in the state of Florida, a CARD Center will cover you. We cover Palm Beach and the Treasure Coast. And we're very lucky to have a very diverse staff with multiple different backgrounds, ranging in education levels from bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels. We have speech language pathologists, social workers, special education teachers, licensed mental health counselors, and we also are one of the only CARD centers that provide services in all of these languages that you see listed. We have some Spanish speaking, we have Haitian Creole, we have Portuguese as well. I'm our full-time Spanish speaker, and we also have a full-time Haitian Creole speaker as well. As you see, our services are completely free. These are our flyers for specifically targeting the Haitian Creole population and the Spanish population. Again, my name is Sabrina DeGoyes. I have a bachelor's in psychology from FIU and a master's in special education from FAU, and I'm a clinical support specialist. With CARD, I lead our Hispanic Underrepresentation Initiative, which now we've changed to Entendiendo el Autismo, and we provide, again, training specifically in Spanish for Spanish-speaking parents, consultation support to Spanish-speaking parents. Many times I get parents that come to me that have just moved to this country and or just immigrated, and they have a child with autism and they don't even know where to start because the laws and the system is completely different. Yes, even in Puerto Rico, it's completely different. I recently had a family who moved here from Puerto Rico, and yes, they have an IEP. They actually call it a PEE over there, but how they process it through the district and how they provide accommodations is different for these parents. So they really didn't know where to start, and that's where we come in. In the 3 years that I've been doing this, and this next slide I'm very, very proud of, research does show that in order to optimize parent advocacy and parent confidence in advocating for their children, parent-to-parent support is very important. So I started a parent-to-parent support group 3 years ago when I started, and it was me and one other parent. But I am very, very proud to have grown it, and now we have a group of about 70 parents, an active WhatsApp group. We share information to each other. A parent could post in the group if they have a question or need a resource. And very often, before I even get a chance to respond, 5 or 6 other parents are responding. They're very, very supportive of one another. I have parents who have moved here and don't have family support outside of their immediate family. And some are single parents and they don't have any support whatsoever. So they've really leaned on the other parents in that group to help show them the way, because I do have parents, again, we serve all age groups. I have parents who have individuals or children who aren't children anymore, and they're 25, 30 years old, and they've already gone through the system. They know exactly what to do, and they help those that are coming in, those who are just newly diagnosed. We do meet on the first Wednesday of every month from 7 to 8:30 specifically because that is the time that parents have been able to put their kids to bed and are able to come and participate. It's a very open forum. Like I said, many times I have presenters. Lizette Martinez from the district has come. I've had FNG come and present. I've also had Unicorn Children's Foundation come on and present on caring for a caregiver. I poll my parents every quarter to see what topics they're interested in and what resources they need, because why are we going to present a training if they're not interested in the topic? We're here to give them what they are interested in. And similarly, my colleague Jeffrey has also started a support group for Haitian Creole families. And he works in collaboration with a clinician such as myself in order to register these families and help provide support to the Haitian Creole community. Our Little Owls training, and I put this in the presentation because it's one of, I think it's one of our most informative and best trainings, especially for those little ones that are just getting newly diagnosed. This one really brings the parent through all of those red flags of autism and what we could be looking at when a child is given an autism diagnosis, but we also give them strategies. We explain behavior, we give them strategies to implement in the home. and we go through the different options that they have within the school district. This is kind of our precursor to our Building Better Behaviors training, which is a 7-series course, and that one dives really deep into the nitty-gritties of behavior analysis. And we specifically developed that one because we saw that there was a lack of services in the community for certain families, especially in access to ABA services. And I will say that that is greatly seen in the population that I work with. My Hispanic families many times don't have medical insurance to even access ABA services. So this training, along with our Building Better Behaviors training, has really made a difference because we actually, in the Building Better Behaviors training, we actually meet with the parent individually after each series course, and we provide a behavior plan for that child based on the parent's concerns. We also have a new Bridge Transition Support Initiative. We just recently hired a transition specialist, and this is something that we're really happy about and excited to be spearheading this year. She is working with students from the ages of 12 to 25, that very important transition age, especially for our kiddos on the spectrum. Parents sometimes need a guide on what to do next, what are the resources available to their children. That's also the age that we talk about guardianship and all of the things that have to do with transitioning to adulthood and going on to the next steps after we see them leave the school district. And we also talk about extending their IEP to 22 if needed, any of the resources that parents may not be aware of. We have an iRise 2 mentoring program. To become a mentor, you have to be at least 21 years old, and it is a 1-year commitment for 2 hours a month. And we do a background screening to make sure all of our mentors are safe to work with our populations. But the protege, and that has changed a little bit. It is starting at 11, but it's also serving all the way to the age of 25. And we've really expanded this program. We have a STEM and mindfulness program. We'll send the kit, the entire kit, over to the house of the student that is registered to participate, and they'll build robots with their mentors. They'll participate in different STEM activities throughout the 5 weeks. And I've seen it. It's really fun. It gives that protege an opportunity to really connect and bond with that mentor. And we do see that these relationships expand outside of this program. We also have a life skills program under this mentoring program where children or young adults are taught how to budget, are taught how to access their bank account, and they actually give them real life scenarios. If you have a job that's paying you this amount and your options are A, B, and C, am I gonna go with the penthouse, the 2-bedroom apartment, or the 1-bedroom studio based on my salary? So extremely important skills that all young people should learn, but especially those on the spectrum. We have our adult hangout groups. You do have to be over the age of 18 and older to participate. We have one in Boca, Jupiter, Indian River, and the Treasure Coast. They get together virtually about once a month and in person once or twice a quarter. I've heard it's really grown, and we have someone in Boca and in Treasure Coast that have recently graduated from their master's running the group. These adults need to be self-sufficient, and they need to be able to participate as part of the group and follow the protocols, because they do have to sign like an agreement to go based on the rules. But as long as they're able to participate, we do have those planned activities, and it's a lot of fun. They do movie nights, pizza nights. We also have autism-friendly business trainings. That's the objective, to increase autism awareness and support community inclusion by creating safe spaces with no judgment zones in businesses. So we work directly with businesses. We provide this training to the business. They could actually put it up and say that they've done the FAU card autism-friendly business training, and we teach them how to work with individuals on the spectrum, how to adapt their business needs, and so that everyone could find employment and have more access. Upcoming trainings and events. So this one just passed on October 15th, but we have the part 2 coming up on January 21st, which is Speaking of Speech. That's run by my colleague, Beth Barney, and she is fantastic. She's a speech language pathologist, and she's gonna be giving a presentation all about AAC devices and so if there's a teacher present or an educator, I really suggest registering for it. Again, all of our trainings are completely free for the community. We also have classroom tools for ASD teachers that's being presented by Rochelle Tolliver, our clinician up in St. Lucie, and she is phenomenal as well. We also, this is one of my favorite events, so please put it on your calendar, guys, A Day for Autism. If anyone has participated in this before, it's a lot of fun. We have a petting zoo, we have bouncy houses. We work in collaboration with the police department, with the sheriff's office, and they come out with their vehicles, with the dogs. It's just a really big fair. It's free for the community, and there'll be a ton of resources for families to get more information. We'll have a tent there as well for any families that aren't registered with us. Please follow us on Instagram, and ways that you could support, of course, donations, but really just sending families our way, any families that need support and assistance and may have a suspicion of autism or already have an autism diagnosis. I call us the hidden gem, right? We're here, we're ready to serve families. It's a state-funded program, but many families don't know that we're here and that we exist, especially those in the minority communities, and especially those who don't speak English. So spread the word. Please let families know that we're here and we're ready to help. And then this is our direct contact information. I will also have, Susan, if you don't mind, put my direct contact information in the chat. You can call me directly, especially if it's a family that's Spanish speaking, and I'm happy to reach out to them. If you have another family in mind and would like to contact me directly, you could as well, and I'll connect you with the right clinician. But does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much, Sabrina. There was a comment in the chat, but you did just mention on engaging minority communities. And it says, how can Black parents get information for their autistic children? If you just repeat that comment again about how they can reach out to you and where you'll be available.
Yes, absolutely. So I will put my direct contact in the chat. I'm also going to put this back up. This is our main line. You could call our main number, visit our website, and you could get some information on how to register families. But just so you know, we also have an African American initiative, and they meet on the last Wednesday of every month. There's also an African American Parent Task Force where my colleague Chandra runs it, and they also have presenters every month talking specifically about the challenges African American families face with diagnosis and access to services. Thank you.
And from the chat says, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Oswald?
I just want to make a quick comment. I saw something on one of your slides, and I just want you to know that I loved it. It was, you don't need to take all the steps, only the next one. I don't know who put that up there, but I love that.
I did. Thank you. I appreciate it. And that's very, very true. You know, it's very overwhelming. We don't need to know everything of what to do until the kid gets a diagnosis through adulthood. Many of the times the parents are just trying to get to the next step. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oswald.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's for you or Kimberly, but I'm assuming, but you know how that goes. You're connected with ESC Advisory or everybody?
Yes, we are connected with the ESC Advisory. We work very collaboratively with the districts and each group. I specifically am not, because I kind of do the Diversity and Equity Committee, but my higher-ups are.
Okay.
And then the next question in the chat is, will this presentation be available for us?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to send it over to the group.
Perfection. Thank you so very much.
Are you actually housed at FAU?
Yes, so we actually have 3 offices. We have an office on the Boca campus, we have an office in Jupiter, and we also have a satellite office in St. Lucie. But how each clinician runs it differently. We do a lot of our intakes virtually. With my specific population, I've noticed that virtually doesn't work very often. I will give them the option of a virtual meeting if they would like, but I also tell them that I can meet them in the community or in person. Many times they want to meet face-to-face just to get a better understanding of the documents and get a better explanation. And also that trust factor is very big, at least for the Hispanic community, to be able to see my face, know who I am, and put a face behind the name, I think is really important. But we try to meet parents where they're at. So if virtual intakes are needed, we could do that.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Great work.
Love the FAU life.
Go
Go Owls.
Owls.
Go Owls. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And moving to our last item on the agenda is our subcommittee.
So we nominated chair, who, she had to leave. So anybody that was there can also weigh in, but essentially we're collecting additional information to kind of narrow in on our focus around teacher placement and student achievement, if anybody else wants to weigh in, but my notes. Dr. Thaddeus, phone a friend.
I was trying to recollect too. I think I think that's right. I think that was the request that we wanted to collect more data. We're looking at some surveys, some previous surveys, to just kind of see what the data has shown previously from students' perspective, and their feeling of, I'm going to say belonging because that's my word, but feeling of belonging. And then there's also some teacher surveys, I believe, that we want to also look at. And then I think there may have been some other data out there that we are requesting just to start to analyze what's already been done, and then we'll consider next steps after that, I think, of where we want to go.
Anybody else that was there want to weigh in? Okay.
It's Charmaine. Could you just remind me one more time of the task at hand for the subcommittee?
Yeah, so a few months ago, because we lost a month, there was some data shared and presented. Dr. Diaz had shared around teacher placement and the high-achieving teachers and how they're placed and what schools they work in, and the research around that. And that correlated also with some of the recommendations through this committee for high-achieving African-American males that we had worked on, and there was some synergy to kind of look at that research and that piece around potential recommendations to bring forward for the district around, I don't want to say teacher placement, but high achieving teachers, for lack of a better word, if everybody wants to weigh in on our conversation.
I think the language that was used then, and it would be helpful if we can resurface that data that Dr. Diaz brought up, but it was, his language was effective versus ineffective teachers, I think, something like that is what I remember him saying, and there was some data he was showing at that time, and so I know it was a couple of months ago, but maybe we can grab that data that he shared.
Yeah, do we have someone here from the Hispanic Education Coalition? Who's the rep for Hispanic Education? I'm going blank.
Also wondering about that data because I missed that.
Hector? Hector's not here? Okay. Okay. We can reach out to him to work on getting it.
But Charmaine, did that answer your question? It was effective and ineffective teachers and where they're placed in the district and which schools.
Yes, that brings back my memory. We lost a month and I was like,
Yeah.
I lost total. Yes, that dropped back my memory and I'm back to my notes. Yes.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? We're looking at the rest of the agenda. There is no unfinished business. Thank you to all the presenters today. Thank you for all attendees. We've really knocked it out this time with attendance this time. We're very appreciative of everyone who logged in and was able to stay with us throughout the duration of this meeting, and everyone especially who came in-house today. A special shout out again to Susan, who's leaving us.
Be here next month.
Right, she'll be here next month, so we'll get to shower you with love again next month, but we're very much appreciative. I know I'm new to the team, but I've never been so tickled by your emails because they're on time, on point of what I need to do, when to do it, how to do it. So thank you so very much for what you have done. Very much so, very much so. And I think the committee shares, especially those who have greater experience with you, that they are happy to see you happy. Moving to the end of the agenda, our next meeting is November 12th at 10 a.m. in the boardroom. We encourage in-house participation as we get to network with one another and see faces and place names and faces together so we can help our students across the communities and across the district. If there are...
November
21st, I'm sorry, November 21st, Thursday, November 21st, part of my error, at 10 a.m. in the boardroom. If there are no other questions, comments, queries, or concerns, the meeting will adjourn at 11:57. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Meeting is adjourned.